Hey, welcome to Hired How to Get the Jobs Weekly Review. Today we are going to be talking about something that I think you're going to find very valuable. The application process, how to use the job description to strategically increase the amount of response you get on your resume and applications. I'm going to use a random job description I came up with or found this morning on Indeed. I think it's really going to help you, so I want you to stick around for that. And then always we're going to do Q&A. But first, let me tell you a little bit about who I am. My name is Tony Martin. I write a blog called How to Get the Job. I do lots of videos like this regarding hiring, interviewing, resumes. I'm a resume writer. I've been an executive recruiter. I've been a staffing recruiting manager. I've hired thousands of people. I've interviewed tens of thousands of people. And my passion has always been to help and coach people and make them better. And this is an area that I'm really well suited for. So subscribe to my YouTube channel, take a look there. You'll see a whole bunch of videos, I think almost nearly 50 now, with different pieces of content that can probably help you. And then of course, go to my blog on howtogetthejob.blog, and that'll really focus you in on different articles, just things you can reference as you're going through this job search. Because let's be honest, a lot of people are going through this job search for the first time in their lives, and it always helps to have someone in your corner. So if you're not getting any response in your resumes, before we get into today's content, make sure you forward me your resume, send it to me. I'd be more than happy to take a look at it and give you my free 30-minute consult about where you can make it stronger, what areas I think it might could do some improvement on. My goal from these consults with my clients is not give you a sales pitch. It's to give you an honest assessment of your resume and honest things that you can take away and do yourself to make it better and increase your response rate. So then after we get to the topic today, we will get to Q&A. So please use the comment section, write your questions in. I already have questions from clients over the past couple of weeks, but I always take live questions first because they're fun. So I always like interaction there. And as we're talking, if you like what you're hearing, please give me a thumbs up so it pushes this out to more people in your network. All right, so now let's get to the topic today. How to develop an application strategy, okay? Far too often, we apply to a bunch of different things. We'll apply to a lot of jobs, and hopefully we hope that our resume matches what they're looking for, and we're kind of lazy in the process because we're trying to apply to so many things, and you can't just customize your resume for everything, can you? Well, you kind of can, and you really should, but more so, I've done videos on that. That's not what this is. This is about actually looking at that job description though, and using it in a way that's going to up your game. So this morning, about 1 hour ago, I randomly picked a job description off of Indeed, and we're going to use that as the backdrop for this conversation. So let me pull that up now, and we're going to remove the ticker there so that way you can see me. And actually, we're going to remove me completely just to make it bigger. This is a random job description, okay? It was on Indeed this morning. Now, when you look at the job description, and if you were applying to this job, I've redacted the private company information because it doesn't matter because it's just a backdrop for our conversation. But as you look at this job description, you have 3 sections typically. You've got the purpose and the responsibilities, so the purpose of the job and the responsibilities you have. Often those are fused together. Skills and experience, and then attributes. We're going to land on this for a little bit, and then stuff about the company. And you will see that the job was posted 1 day ago. That is important. We've talked about this before in various conversations. If you apply to a job that is more than 5 days old, you're probably not going to get a call back. So make sure you're applying to things that are very quick or are very new, I should say. And if you look at this, most Indeed posts have a ticker on the bottom that tells you how old the requisition is. Okay, but look at this. And before you apply to this job, you want to first scan it for keywords. So I would look at this, I would scan it. You read it, but we're going to scan it for the purpose of this discussion here. And this explains that this person needs to make sure that they're fully versed in the hiring process, full cycle recruiting. Look at this, JobVite. That is a specific applicant tracking system they use. That's going to be a keyword that you want to have in your resume if you've used it. They use LinkedIn Recruiter here. 5 years of experience, that's important. Managing a large candidate pool, communication skills, time management skills. All of these things are going to be important. for your resume. These are the keywords that you want to have in your resume. Now, you want to take your time. I have high energy. I'm talking fast because I need to talk fast because I have a lot to tell you about. But you need to take your time and make sure that the keywords that they're trying to focus on, you actually have the experience on your resume written out. If you've done it and it's not in your resume, you are wrong. Take the time, read the job description, update your resume to have these keywords in there. Now, if you're really concerned though, listen, honestly, not many applicant tracking systems out there have this artificially intelligent keyword plucker, but they're getting more and more, and you need to make sure that you use this to your advantage. Now, this next section in this is your professional, when you're writing your resume, so you have these keywords throughout in the job description, in your accomplishment bullets. These keywords should be all littered in your accomplishment bullets. But look, as I read about this is the about the company section. Probably should have left the about word in there. But anyway, this is about the company section. And look, you can see they're a global company. So in your professional summary, you should talk about your ability to have worked in a global company if you've worked in a global company. Your professional summary should say more than 5 years of experience. I don't care if you've had 10. If the job requires 5, I have more than 5 years. Now, if you have 25, you're probably not going to get the job because you have too much experience. But if you're somewhere in this ballpark, use the language in the job description on your resume. That's going to make me as a recruiter want to call you, okay? Now, so this is going to lay out how your resume should be written. The next thing this is going to do is going to help you when it gets time to answer the knockout questions. More likely than an applicant tracking system using artificial intelligence to move your resume from one stage to the next, more often right now, it's applicant tracking knockout questions. This job description tells me the right answer. If I applied to a job that requires 5 years of experience, the first question is going to be in the knockout, how many years of experience do you have? If I have 4 years and 10 months of experience, I am going to think long and hard about the 2 months of experience that I need to answer the question correctly. The correct answer for me to move on is 5 or more. If I answer between 3.5 and 4.5 years or less than 5 years, I'm not getting a call back. So in my case, I might be thinking about, oh, well, you know what? I was actually in the Marine Corps and there was 2 months that I did recruiter's assistance. Wasn't really a recruiter, but I can use that information. Or maybe I was in a fraternity and we recruited pledges. I don't care. There's some way to buff up my 4 years and 10 months to be a 5 years of experience. Now, if you have 3 years of experience, never lie. Don't ever lie on your application, but just temper your expectations of getting a call back. If you can't answer these questions with the 100% right answer, you're less likely to get a call back. But don't ever lie. But make sure if you're in that gray area where there's 2 or 3 months keeping you from the correct answer, figure out if there's ways that you can utilize some creative experience in your past to justify your answer. Because when I call you and say, hey, look, I'm looking at your resume, Tony, and I see you only have about 4.5 years of experience as a recruiter, but you said you had 5 or more. Where'd that other 6 months come from? Well, I did recruiter's assistance. I was in a fraternity. I did this, and they weren't really technical experience, but truthfully, we vetted candidates and blah, 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 blah. Or I was in this nonprofit. Come up with stuff that's true, but understand that you're going to have to justify it. And if you can't, and it's like, well, I only did 4.5, but I knew the right answer was 5 years, you're not going to go very well. But these questions will give you, or I should say, this job description is going to give you the answers to the knockout questions. So use this to your advantage before you start answering the questions. Make sure you've printed this thing out, you've highlighted the right words because you want it anyway, okay? So then let's talk about the next thing that's going to happen. Well, you also want to just pick the right roles, right? I've told you this before, but don't apply to 100 jobs from the same company. You won't get any of them. But make sure the ones you are applying to, you're most likely to be qualified for, because that's only going to help you. If you apply to operations, recruiting, procurement, and supply chain or whatever, you're not going to get any of those jobs. But if I apply to manager in recruiting and senior manager in recruiting, or procurement analyst and procurement specialist, if you're staying in the right vein, you're more likely to get the job, or at least get the application to someone who's going to talk to you. So now let's talk about this. This section right here. This is my bugaboo. I hate it when my companies and clients would have this section in their job applications and their job descriptions, because it tells the candidate many of the answers that they are never going to get asked. Meaning, when you get the question, tell me about yourself, you are going to get this question multiple times in some way or form during an interview. Whether the first phone screener is going to say, tell me about yourself, Tony, tell me about your background. And guess what? That answer is a 1-minute answer. If I have a second interview with the hiring manager, it's a different answer. It's a 3-minute answer, because the hiring manager cares more about other things. And we're going to get into that. But this is part of my guide, my map, my roadmap to my right answer. Okay? Because I know that they're looking for someone that demonstrates a passion for recruiting. Positive and flexible approach means a nimble environment. They have to be proactive, pragmatic, and resilient. So guess what? When the phone screener first interview says, tell me about yourself, that answer is focused here on skills and experience and a little bit of here. So I would say, if it's in a phone screen, my first interview, phone screening with the company, pick up the phone. Hey, good afternoon, this is Tony. Hey, Tony, I'm with so-and-so. Do you have 5 minutes to talk or 20 minutes to talk? Absolutely. So you applied to this job. Can you tell me a little bit about why you wanted to work for us? Can you tell me a little bit why you're qualified for this job? This is where I live with the phone screen. Interview 1, skills and experience. I don't dive up into key responsibilities. I don't talk about job purpose with the phone screener. Why? Because the phone screener has 20 minutes, maybe 30 at the most. They have a checklist of maybe 15 things they want to get through. 90% of those things are right here, skills and experience. The phone screener doesn't care about my 8 years of experience where I did this and I built strategy. That's not what this job is. Now, that's for the hiring manager, because the hiring manager might think in broader terms about you being able to fill a bigger strategic role in the future. But today you're talking to a phone screener. So stick with, I've been recruiting for over 5 years. I love keeping expectations correct. I typically make deadlines faster than my peers. I manage expectations correctly. Now, again, I'm giving these very choppy because I'm reading it at the same time trying to communicate to a camera, and at the same time trying to make sure it sounds eloquent enough to actually sell. But truthfully, if I was interviewing with somebody for a job, I'm going to memorize this section right here to the best of my ability, and I'm going to memorize this. So when they say, tell me about myself, I'm just going to be talking about me being a passionate recruiter who has always been able to be flexible. I have more than 5 years of experience, and I believe in meeting expectations, and often I beat deadlines. Something like that is my structure. Now, if that's true, that's what I'm saying. If it's not true, don't make stuff up. I'm never telling you to lie on these things. But this is the roadmap. Okay, it's like if you're going to dinner with your wife or your spouse. There's lots of different ways that you can. There's lots of different ways you can get to the restaurant, right? But they're all going to get you there, and some will get you there faster, some will get you there longer, some will get you there with a pretty scenery. But for the phone screener, they care about these check marks, and whatever I have done that's relevant in that key. Where's not the key attribute section, but the skills section, whatever I've done, I am highlighting that to the tell me about yourself question, to the phone screener. Now, I always say the phone screener, I hate these absolute statements, yes, but the phone screener interview is often the most difficult, not because it's challenging, but because you are up against the most competition, and you're talking to someone who has never done your job. Otherwise, they would be doing your job, not recruiting for your job. And I guess since I picked a recruiter job description at random today, it was probably a mistake because they have done the job because they're a recruiter. But in most cases, you're talking to a recruiter and you're not a recruiter, so they can't do your job. And your job is to be able to articulate why you're the right person over the 20 or 30 other people they're talking to. If you make it to the next level, your competition is much less. Now you have a 20% chance of getting the job if you're going to the second interview, just by statistics, right? There's 5 people at the most, usually going to interview number 2. There might be 20 or 30 people in interview number 1 in the phone screen. So you have the most competition against you. You're trying to communicate with someone who doesn't know exactly what you do. And you need to make sure that you sell yourself enough that they can sell you to the hiring manager. So you have big job in that phone screen. That's why I've said before, I think it's the most important and also the most difficult because of everything you have to do. And I've also said that the phone screener has the most influence, okay? That recruiter, though they have the least amount of power, they have the most influence because they've talked to everybody. They've looked at all of the applications. They have the hiring manager's ears. So you need to answer questions in this phone screen quickly. They only have 15, 20, 30 minutes at the most to talk to you. You don't need to go on 5-minute answers. Every answer is 1 minute or less, okay? Phone screen, and your roadmap for those phone screening questions is this part of the job description right here, skills and experience. That's where you're living for 90% of your answers. If you haven't done something, you need to be able to relate it to why it's not relevant or why you're still a qualified candidate. Don't go into key responsibilities or job purpose too much. That's the background for 90% of your interview number 2 and interview number 3. Interview number 2 and number 3 are really going to be more about the roles or responsibilities, how you can do the job, how you can be effective in the job. That's for the hiring manager, okay? That's what you're going to do during the hiring manager interview. But if you have this job description in front of you, you're going to be much better about being able to answer those questions. And if you're doing a Zoom call nowadays, guess what? You can have it in front of you and no one knows. If you show up to the place and go face to face, then you need to memorize most of the stuff. And as you're reviewing and getting ready for those interviews, you need to memorize ATS is their JobVite. I use JobVite. So when the hiring manager, let's do a scenario here. Phone screen asks you about yourself. I've already given you that answer. Phone screener, it's a 1-minute answer, living in this area. Hiring manager asks you, tell me about yourself. It's some of this, but now you have 2 more minutes. And now you can dive into this. As you walk through your resume with the hiring manager, tell me about yourself, Tony. Well, you know what? I've been doing this for more than 5 years. I'm passionate about recruiting. I really believe in managing candidate experience and expectations. About 5 years ago, I first actually used JobVite. We brought it on. I never have. I'm just pretending I did. But I used JobVite. We brought it on. We actually implemented it as part of the implementation team. And during that time, it was really interesting how that tool was much better than the old tool we were using. And then about 2 years ago, I really got tied in with LinkedIn Recruiter at this other company. We were really big on LinkedIn Recruiter, where we used their matrix and their data. And we really were able to use that tool effectively to hire 80% of our talent and with a retention number of 90%. Like, I'm just passionate about recruiting. I think you can tell from talking to me. I really believe in being someone that make sure that we have honest information inside the database, that we're managing our candidates' expectations. I'm rambling here, right? But I think what you can see is that if I had memorized this job description correctly, I could ramble, and as I'm highlighting those things, I'm hitting all the things in the job description. So guess what's happening? That hiring manager, that phone screener is starting to nod their head, go, yeah, that's what we're looking for. That's awesome. Well, we have JobVite. They might even cut you off. We implemented JobVite 3 years ago or 2 years ago. They're going to forget it's even in the job description. But the fact that you're saying this stuff is making them start nodding their head and going, this is our person. So use the job description, memorize it, know what's in there. So when you're going through your interview, you can relate it to the hiring manager. Then, this is the last piece. When they say questions like, if you had to describe yourself between being this or that, or, whatever, this is where you live. Now, I don't think at all companies should ever have this section, attributes, exposed to candidates. I think it's great for the internal side, meaning when I create a job description, I send it to the hiring manager and I go, hey, tell me, did I get the attributes right for your team? Are these one of the things that's important for your culture, for your team support? Yeah, Tony, those are great. Fantastic. Well, then before I make this job description live, I delete it because I don't want candidates to see what it is. But far too often, companies don't do that. And this random one I picked this morning is a perfect example. It's there. So use it for your advantage as a candidate. Make sure that, first of all, you can be flexible. You're not rigid. Because if you can't be flexible, you're not going to be very good at the job. But if you can be flexible, then I'm sure I'm going to discuss it. Well, I'm really flexible. I'm a proactive leader. I believe that you can't take things personal. You got to really see problems for what they are and figure out solutions. I like to bring solutions to the table. And I think you can tell I'm high energy and super passionate. That is everything in there, right? I just answered a question that wasn't asked with the information that they're looking for without them knowing necessarily. But you can't just go, oh, I'm a demo. You can't just say, well, I have a passion for recruitment, positive, flexible approach, focus on achieving results, and proactive, pragmatic, and resilient. No, you got to put your flavor on it. But doing that like that is going to make the person you're talking to feel like you're the right fit for the role. And that's usually the final interview, right? I mean, these orders for interviews are not always exact, but I think this will help you. Now, as we go into the Q&A section now, I went through that super fast. I have other videos on the YouTube channel that talk about that. And like anything, the more you hear something, the more you're likely to remember it. So feel free to continuously go to the stuff that I'm reviewing or talking about and check it out, because that stuff is going to help you in your job search. And this is all free information. I just really care about people getting stronger and getting better. And if I can help make a business along the way, then great. And the way I make money, just in case you didn't know, is I do resume writing, I do interview consults, I do culture fits for companies on the company side. This is the quick commercial. So if you do have a resume that's not getting you the response, if you want me to talk to you a little bit more about this, I do free 30-minute consults, and we can talk about whatever you want for 30 minutes. I prefer to talk about your resume because I think that helps you more. And all this stuff is out there for free on media already, social media, but check it out. And the other thing I'll say is I'm always going to push this too. Follow me on Instagram at Hired How to Get the Job on Instagram, because I do every single day as I'm writing resumes and working with clients, I pop that resume on Instagram and I'll say, hey, look, guys, here's a quick thing that this person made a mistake on. Don't make the same mistake. Every week, there's dozens of tips on resume writing, interviewing, and things like that that you can glean from if you happen to be following me on Instagram, hired_how to get the job. All right, now it's time for our live Q&A. So if you do have a question, please make sure you type it in. If you don't have a question, but you've liked what you've heard so far, I would be immensely grateful if you just put a thumbs up or click the like or do whatever you can, whether you're watching it on YouTube or watching it on LinkedIn, because I think that information will help you. And now let me look at the questions here. How to get digital nomad jobs? I don't quite know the answer to this question. How to get, and also I'm someone that doesn't really BS anybody. Okay, I'm a straight shooter. Digital nomad jobs. I don't know what that even means, honestly. That's not in my wheelhouse. So Debarshi, call me or text me or email me or private message me. Send me a message and let's talk about that, because I'm not sure what you mean. Hi, Tony. Okay, this is from Sandy. I've come across many instances where the job description shows it was just posted in the last day or so. Good, like we talked about. When I go to apply, it shows it was actually posted 2 to 3 weeks ago or more. Yeah, absolutely, Sandy. If you're a good fit for a job, even though it says it was posted 2 days ago. Now, here's the thing. It might have gone live on that job board today, which you're at a disadvantage. What I would do in those situations, Sandy, is I would back up and I would go, where else do I see this job? Okay, so maybe you're on Indeed and the job went live today, and then you go to their company website and you see that it's 2 to 3 weeks old. It's very possible that it was internally posted for 2 to 3 weeks and never went externally posted until today, which means you're fine, right? Because some companies do that. They have a big talent pool. We have 10,000 employees and we want to post it internally first, so every employee gets an option to get the job first. Then they post it externally. If Indeed's a really, I don't want to say it's a good, I'm not endorsing one system over another, but Indeed seems to be a really big aggregate of job descriptions and roles. So if Indeed says it's 1 day old, I'm truly going to believe it's probably only been externally posted for 1 day, because Indeed is actually partnered with a lot of these applicant tracking systems, and for no additional fee, Indeed scrubs their company careers page and posts it on Indeed. And as a result, if Indeed says it's 1 day old, the rest of the world probably believes it's 1 day old. Now, you might have been able to see it had you actually gone to XYZ's company career page, but most people like you are looking in these bigger pools, not looking at individual companies. Now, if you have a company that's in your love list, you need to make that part of your scan, just to make sure that you can then start seeing, oh, this job is on their company page today. It's not anywhere else. Then you can start figuring out that need to be part of your scan. But yeah, absolutely apply. Just temper your expectations, Sandy. Thanks for the question, for sure. Let's see. And then we got an answer here. Sandy, it shows. So DeBarshi's answering Sandy's question. Sandy, it shows last day or so because HR might have updated something in the portal. That's very true too. They might have changed the job in their portal, and then it also went live as well. There's lots of reasons why. Thanks so much for answering that question. I love it. Okay, this is great advice. Thanks, Rick. How to crack? Okay. How to crack high-paying digital nomad jobs for people with. Okay, so I think you're saying if you have for people who have high experience, and are they trying to go for jobs that are lower? Again, that word nomad, I guess, is just new to me, so I'm not quite sure what the question is, and I'm so sorry. But ageism is real. Okay, if you have a lot of experience and you're trying to go for younger jobs, you're probably not going to get the job, not because you're older. It's probably more so because you, at the end of the day, you want too much money. They're going to assume that. Also, we're going to assume you're not going to stick around. We're going to assume that, hey, he's just taking this lower level job to buy time until the right job opens up. And when this pandemic lifts and the vaccine is good and everyone's back to work, we're going to lose them pretty quickly. So you need to make sure that you're applying to the right opportunities for sure. And there's lots of reasons behind that, but that's two of the reasons. And I've said this a lot. If you are someone who's got 30, 40 years of experience and you have limited skills that make you different than others, then guess what? It's going to be really tough for you to get the job, because there's people who are younger, who don't have that experience, that they don't want to pay for. The company may just not have the ability to pay for it, so they're not going to hire people. So it's really important that as you grow your career, you grow your skill sets. And you start growing them in areas that are unique to you, and not just everyone can do them. Because then as you apply to these jobs, they might be a little lower level jobs because that's what you want to do, but those hiring managers are going to see something more in you that's going to be more value add immediately, that's going to allow you to help grow that team or that organization. And even though you're starting off as an analyst with 25 years of experience, they might say, hey, look, we don't want you to be a manager, but we do need you to be a strategic thinker. We need you to be a leader in the group. So there's ways to do that. Do you recommend, okay, so Rick is asking, do you recommend trying to figure out who the hiring managers for the job you're applying to and researching out them directly, either through someone in your network who knows them or just a direct email to say, absolutely, Rick, great point. Listen, if you're applying somewhere, I have so many videos on these things. I mean, you really should go to the YouTube channels, people, because this is addressed. How to network, right? When you're applying somewhere for this job description right here, this random company that I came up with today, it's a real job description, it's a real company. I would, step one, go to the company name, which is hidden under there, and I would go find out who works at that company. And then when I connect with them on LinkedIn, I would send them individual messages. Hey, I would never ask them for them to do anything for me, because that's presumptuous of me. And now I'm giving you a job, right? Rick, if you have an open job tomorrow, do you want 55 candidates asking you to do something for them? No, it's annoying. You want 55 candidates bringing you solutions. So I would say something to the effect of, and not everyone's going to do it, but bottom line, I would reach out to Rick in a strategic way and say, hey, Rick, really impressed with your background. I've been, we've been connected for a while, or appreciate you connecting with me. I recently applied to your job. I think it's in your company. In your expert opinion, do you think my background would be a fit for your team? Something like that. Sweet talk them by bolstering them up in your expert opinion. Show them the respect that you think that they deserve, and they're more likely to at least take a look. But don't ask them for an interview. Don't ask them to look at your resume. You can attach your resume, but just in your expert opinion, do you think I have the chops to sit there? Or, I'd love to pick your brain. But the more you start asking them for favors, the less likely they're going to respond. Because me as a recruiter, I'd get that email every day by a bunch of people. But guess what? When the hiring manager got that email, he didn't get as many as the recruiter got. So he would actually look at that person's background, and far too often, not far too often, it's probably a bad way to say it. Often, I could think of a VP of procurement I used to work with. At every requisition, he'd walk a resume over to me, and 50-50, the guy was qualified. Because what happened was that individual emailed that VP and said, hey, VP, and somehow got him to look at his resume. And then the VP would come to me and say, hey, Tony, a couple days ago, we posted our job. Yesterday, I got this resume. Truthfully, I have no idea if this guy's a fit or not. He connected with me on LinkedIn, and I just printed out his resume. Here you go. But what did that do? Even if the guy was terrible, 50% of the time the person was, it ensured I got my eyes on it. It didn't just rely on one avenue, the applicant tracking system, to get me to his resume. And sometimes, because I'm flawed like everybody, sometimes I would notice that the guy was okay, but I had pushed him to the disqualified bucket for a variety of reasons because he wasn't better than what I had. I had better people. But then once that job, the hiring manager brought me his resume hand delivered, I went back to the disqualified section and I started making a case to justify why I could remove him from disqualified and put him into the list of phone screens at least. All that stuff helps you. Great question, Rick. I love it. Rick is helping me too. Nomad, digital nomad is someone who can work from their laptop. They might be a freelancer. Okay, so if you're a freelancer, thank you, Rick. So let's come back to this. How can you crack the digital, paying digital nomad jobs for? Okay, so if you're trying to do a remote job, and in this environment, remote jobs are pretty easygoing, right? Because everyone's trying to make sure you can work from home. But often what you're going to get in this interview process is, if this job requires you to come into the office, or are you going to feel comfortable coming back into the office 6 months from now, or whatever? There's gonna be a timeline, right? You need to say yes. Because you need to always lead with yes, or the positive information they're looking for, if it's true. If it's not true, then you can't say yes. But you need to make sure that you have the experience working remotely in the past to justify why you could be successful working remotely in the future. Right now, we're in a very difficult situation. Everyone is working remotely. But in the future, we're not all going to work remotely. And as a result, and maybe we will, but as a result, you need to make sure that you can justify times you were successful when we weren't in this brave new world of everyone having to work remotely. If you're the only one working remotely and the whole team is in the office in Germany, then you need to be able to say, hey, in my past, I've done this when the office was in Spain and I've been here in Italy, and guess what? We've got all this stuff done. Here's all my accomplishments. You need to lean back on your accomplishments and not just simply say that, yeah, I'm open to doing it. You need to say I'm open to doing it, but why are you open to doing it? I hope that helped. Again, I am happy to talk more about that with anybody, so feel free to send me an instant message on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on whatever, and we can talk through it. All right, any more questions? I'd love to hear them, and I'll answer them for you. I'll do one more question, which I get a lot, and I'll just ask it because I get it at least once a week, so I feel like people who are watching might be asking, and that is, how long should a resume be? Look, this question is a timely question because every day I'm doing consults with resumes that are extremely long. But guess what? I don't care. Resumes, the rule I have, and this is my rule, okay? Everyone's got an opinion. Everyone's gonna tell you something differently. But I think it's important that if someone tells you something and why they believe it, they need to tell you, why they believe it. They can't just tell you they believe it. It should be 2 pages, it should be 3 pages. A resume should be as long as it needs to be. It's a very up in the air statement. And it's on purpose. Here's why. You need to follow 3 rules in your resume. This is what I believe and why. You need to make sure that your resume doesn't repeat bullets. I don't care you did the same thing at 4 different companies. If you did it once, I know you can do it. If you did it once, the applicant tracking system is going to pick it up and flag you as a fit. You don't need to put it 4 times. Taking 4 times removes my ability to scan the other things. Remember, I don't read resumes. I scan resumes. I spend no more than 15 seconds scanning a resume. If it's 2 pages long or 3 pages long or 4 pages long, I now am still going to scan the resume. And I am less likely, if it's filled with information, to find what you want me to find. So the first thing is make sure you don't repeat bullets. The second thing is make sure the bullets are relevant to the job you're applying for. I know you've done 7 different things over the past 25 years, but maybe only 3 of those things are actually relevant for the job you're applying for. Keep those 4 other jobs in there, but severely cut back the number of bullets for each one of those jobs. because they don't matter for this job. So make sure your bullets are relevant to the job you're applying for, because then when I'm scanning your resume, I have a much better likelihood of scanning the bullets that are relevant to the job you're applying for. I'm not scanning just every bullet you've ever done, because now you've made so many bullets in the pool that I'm less likely to see what's important. Okay, so don't repeat bullets. Make sure the job description matches your resume, so the bullets are relevant to the job you're applying for. And then thirdly, make sure that you've hit the keywords that I'm looking for in your resume if you've done them. So that way it's ensuring that it's on point. And as I scan things, I'm going to be hitting them hard. And then I guess the last thing is the 75% rule. If you don't know what that is, it's real simple. No less than 75% of your bullets. Unless you're a new college grad, there's always an absolute statement that I can back out of. In most cases, 75% of your bullets or more should be accomplishments, and no more than 25% should be job description. You can turn a job description bullet into an accomplished bullet pretty easily. Job description bullets. Manage accounts daily. Accomplishment bullets. Managed 25 customer accounts daily with an average revenue of $1 million. It's the same length, meaning it didn't take up 2 lines. That will still take up 1 line of information. However, it takes up more of the first line, and you've now turned a job description bullet into an accomplishment bullet. Make sure your bullets are mostly accomplishments. There's a whole, I did an article on how to get the blog, on bullets and, resumes, and writing a smart bullet resume. That's the smart bullet, okay? I don't have time to go into it, but it's in there. So I hope everyone enjoyed that. If you liked it, again, please give me a thumbs up. Please share this. When we hang up, when I get done with this in a few seconds, share it. Say, hey, look, this was really informational. If someone, I guarantee we all know people who are looking for a job right now. So by you reposting this, please, with your background and your endorsement, it means a lot. It means you didn't think my time was, or you didn't think this was a waste of your time. And you also help kind of put your little networking brand on it. So I appreciate that. As always, make sure that you subscribe to my YouTube channel. You follow me on Facebook at Hired How to Get the Job. You follow me on LinkedIn, you follow me on YouTube, subscribe to YouTube, and lastly, you go to Instagram, because I give those daily tips all day long, all the time, as I'm working on resumes. And if you're currently working on your resume and it's intimidating to talk to somebody about it, it's never really intimidating to learn from someone else's mistakes. That's pretty much the easiest way to get yourself better, is to learn from someone else's mistakes. And lastly, if you know anybody in your network that can use this information, or if you think I can help you, give me a call, send me an instant message so I can show you how to get the job. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next time.